Welcome to Journey in Faith. I'm Pamela Bates. Wherever you are on your journey, I'm glad you're here. My prayer is that as you listen, you'll know you're not alone and that you'll find hope, healing, and above all, Jesus. Today, we're talking about when you know something is wrong, but don't know how to name it. How does a child learn to recognize evil when evil is happening all around them? We talk a lot about building good foundations in our children, and we should. We teach them right from wrong. We teach them to be kind. We teach them to be respectful to others. And for those of us who believe in Jesus, we want our children to know God. We want to equip them because evil is real. But what happens to the child who is left to decipher evil and brokenness? What happens when a child knows something isn't right, but they don't have the words to explain why? I knew something wasn't right. I just didn't know how to decipher it. And before I go any further, I want to say something that may be difficult for some people to hear. The person who harms you is broken too. Now let me be very clear. That does not excuse abuse. It does not erase the damage. It does not remove accountability. And it absolutely does not mean a victim should stay in danger. But I believe we have to understand something about humanity. Broken people can break people. And I believe that brokenness goes all the way to the garden. In Genesis, sin entered the human story. And from that point forward, humanity lived in a broken world. Generation after generation, brokenness has been passed down. Sometimes through words, sometimes through actions, sometimes through people, sometimes through what people do, and sometimes through what they never learned themselves. I was a child trying to understand brokenness while living inside it. I didn't understand spiritual warfare. I didn't understand manipulation. I didn't understand abuse. I didn't understand why something felt so wrong. I just knew they did. And when a child doesn't have the tools to recognize truth, lies can begin to sound like the truth. The Bible tells us in Ephesians 6 to put on the armor of God so we can stand against the schemes of the devil. But I was a child. I didn't know how to put on the armor of God. I didn't understand what I was fighting. I didn't know what was happening around me, and I certainly didn't know how to name it. I was baptized as a child, and I think that is important to say because God was in my story before I understood my story. I didn't know what he was doing. I didn't understand what faith meant. And there would be years when I would wonder. Years when I would believe, but not grow. Years when I would teeter on the fence. But I don't believe God lost sight of me. I think I lost sight of him. There is a difference. I learned very early how to disappear. I learned how to be quiet. I learned how to read the room. I learned how to survive what I could not explain. And when you grow up in chaos, survival can become your foundation. You can become very good at surviving. But surviving is not the same as knowing the truth. I knew something was wrong, but I didn't know what it was called. I didn't know how to fight it. I think about children a lot because children need more than rules to grow. They need to be equipped to recognize the truth. They need to know what love looks like. They need to know what safety feels like. They need to know that when something feels wrong, they can say something. Because sometimes a child knows, they just don't know how to explain what they know. And that child can grow up, that child who didn't decipher the chaos, and become an adult who still questions her own understanding. The child who learned to survive can become an adult who doesn't know what healthy looks like. I didn't know it then, but that little girl who couldn't decipher the brokenness around her would one day spend years looking for love. And I didn't even know what I was looking for. But here, but here is what I know now. God was not absent because I couldn't see him. He was not gone because I was confused. And he had not lost sight of me. Even when I couldn't recognize truth, God knew the truth. Even when I couldn't see him, he saw me. If you're listening today and you are still trying to understand what happened to you, I want you to hear me. You're not stupid, you're not weak, and you're not too far gone. Sometimes the foundation is buried beneath years of chaos. But buried does not mean destroyed. God knows exactly where to find you. And truth is where freedom begins. Jesus, I pray for the person listening who knows something is wrong, but does not know how to name it. Bring light into confusion. Give them wisdom to recognize truth. Help them understand that you never lost sight of them. Remind them that the child they once were matters to you. And help them take their next step towards healing, trusting that you are with them every step of the way. Thank you for joining me on Journey in Faith. If today's episode encouraged you, please subscribe and share it with someone who may need hope today. If you'd like to support the ministry or explore resources inspired by Journey in Faith, you'll find the store link in the description below. Till next time, may God bless you.